Let's just say that things have gotten pretty real lately. Count Dankula, Mark Meechan, has been charged with obscenity and may be going to jail for mocking Nazis by teaching his pug to make a Nazi salute. Mark's conviction, on the heels of Lauren Southern being turned away from the UK, apparently for sedition, and all of that has hit me really hard. I personally might not be able to enter the UK to speak at the next International Conference on Men's Issues in July of this year, and now I really don't think we're going to get out of this situation without a civil war. And it's unlikely that if it does end up in war that all of us will survive this. Not only has free speech suffered a blow, and apparently context and intent are now irrelevant, some people seem to be blaming Mark for provoking his own prosecution at the hands of the Scottish authorities. This is an astounding attitude. The fact that government can and will imprison someone for a joke is, according to them, the reason why Mark should not have provoked the government with a joke. That's the mindset of people who are not just willing to justify this, but willing to justify authoritarian rule completely. The government has power to prosecute you for a joke, therefore it's your fault that you were jailed for a joke. You shouldn't have exercised your human rights to freedom of speech if you didn't want your right to freedom of not being jailed taken away. Because context and intent are no longer important to justice in Scotland, Mark has essentially been jailed for making fun of Nazis. And do you know who else would have jailed him for making fun of Nazis? Nazis. In 2011, researchers at the German Foreign Exchange Office uncovered a number of documents and diplomatic cables from 1941 regarding a dog nicknamed Hitler who raised his paw in a Nazi salute. The owner of the dog, Torborg, was called into the German embassy at the time to be questioned for anti-German sentiments and insulting the German Reich. The German Foreign Office at the time investigated Mr. Borg for 3 months and attempted to find ways of bringing Borg to trial for insulting Hitler. Luckily for Borg, no witnesses came forward and no charges were eventually pressed against him. So a man in Nazi-friendly Finland was nearly jailed in 1941 for having a dog that gave a Nazi salute. By the Nazis. History repeats, and I suppose it gets worse each time around the spiral. Once again, we're dealing with a political force that can't take a joke about Nazis. A government bureaucracy with overweening power that wants to take away our ability to speak based on offense to itself. And apparently offense to Nazis. And because we can't get at them, these people on the top, and we all feel so powerless, we grab onto the people we can get at. The people around us, the people below us. We need an enemy we can hurt. And since we can't hurt it, we hurt each other. Black against white, men against women, atheists against Christians, everyone against everyone. Accusations fly, the anger inflames, lines in the sand get drawn deeper till they're carved into bedrock, and we fractionalize more and more and more. We tear each other apart, tear down anything that's being built to oppose this gigantic, towering bureaucracy that's on top of all of us. And this towering, tyrannical bureaucracy, propped up by one point of failure, a currency backed by a massive economy, gets higher and higher, not just because it desires control, but because we can't control ourselves. We can't control our own infighting. Looking at this situation, I have felt quite a bit of despair. I don't know what to do to oppose it. It's so massive. I've seen the direct fight to oppose it fail over and over as it gains more and more power over us and gets bigger and bigger. So let me look at this from another angle. There once was a man who had a devastating series of events happen to him. He lost friends and a job to a rumor that had been spread around him, and he was facing a difficult job market. While he was going through this, he had a dream of a wooden statue of the Buddha. The statue had been defaced by vandals, staked through the heart by a metal rod as thick as your thumb. He felt like that statue, but as he watched in his dream, the statue grew. It grew to the size of a couch, then a car, then a house. And the stake that had once impaled it was nothing more than the sliver. The man woke up from the dream, and he knew what he had to do. I'm going to do something completely different, since everything else up to this point has been tried. Thank you. Thank you to Patreon. When one of our listeners was in crisis, we tried contacting Google and YouTube and Discord, and you were the only ones who responded. Thank you, Jack Conte. I know we've had our differences in the past, and you probably don't even know who I am, but thank you. I won't forget that. Thank you to Karen for caring and for going out and helping build a men's rights platform, even at the expense of your own health and under the dread fear of any lurking walnuts, and for promoting Honey Badger Radio tirelessly. Thank you to Paul Elam for encouraging us when we needed it. Thank you to Mike for all the laughs that you've given me. Thank you to Brian for being my rock and for keeping on keeping on. Thank you to my husband Jonathan for being my other rock and for helping me see the bigger picture. Thank you to Prim. Because of you, I'm closer to being able to create the services I've always wanted and have spoken of in the past. You've helped me help men I wouldn't otherwise have been able to due to lack of time and expertise. Thank you so much. You've given me hope, and I thank you for that. Thank you to Max for keeping it real and not just agreeing with everything we all have to say here at Honey Badger Radio. Thank you to Hannah for your steadfast and thorough analysis. It's been an honor watching you work and be a part of true journalism. Thank you to Ed for working with me in the Art Minds to create animation and design. You always make everything so adorable and relatable. Thank you to every one of you who listens. I know I've had my differences with some of you in the past, but you are my listening colleagues. I don't call you fans, because without you my words wouldn't be heard, and I'm always amazed by you. You are the best part of going to events, meeting with you, listening to your stories, finding out who you are and what moves you. I wish I had the ability to listen to all of your stories. Maybe there will be the technology for that one day. And a very special thanks to Honey Badger Radio supporters. You've chosen to give something of yourself in the hopes of making a better world. I've heard your self-doubts on the Discord, and I just want to say that you are valuable beyond what you can imagine. You are why I created Honey Badger Radio, to bring together people who care, to create a critical mass of people who care, and you do. You are the finest people I've ever met. Never forget that. When you deal with something challenging, just remember, no one can take away how you choose to act. We are all each other's greatest gift. It is a privilege to be challenged, to be supported, to be listened to. It is my privilege to spend time with you and learn from you. I think if we are all excellent to one another, we will get through this. And even if we don't, we will have chosen to be excellent to each other until the end. Thank you. And just a little bit of housekeeping. The Easter rewards to the patrons are going out now. And I'd like to thank Epi for this, our supporter Epi, for this wonderful Crafting with Cat Hair book. And I'd also like to thank Simon, who sends us this postcard, and says, "Hi, Allison, Karen, Hannah, the yellow guy, and everyone else. Many, many thanks for what you are doing. Please keep going and don't let the bastards grind you down. All my best, Simon." And Simon also sent us this one. And I'd also like to thank Florida Catfish. Once again, he's written to me, and I really appreciate hearing about your story and overcoming the issues that you were facing. It picked me up at a difficult time. So thank you, Florida Catfish and Simon and Epi.